I'm here this morning to actually discuss something that is very dear to my taste buds. A product that has inspired my work, both at Think, in creating an ecosystem that helps transform Nigeria's economy, and is today catalyzing and inspiring my approach to another sector that I'm now blessed to lead the evolution of. You know, growing up in the 80s as a millennial for me, it was, you can call it somewhat of an extreme sport. The 80s was a period of great pain and great change for Nigeria. To put it in perspective, between 1981 and 1991, Nigeria GDP went from $164 billion to $59 billion. Let me say that again. Between 1981 and 1991, the Nigerian GDP shrank by almost 65%. To put it in further context, the one that you guys are very familiar with, that is the Gen Z, given the current situation in our country. In 1980, the exchange rate of a naira to a dollar was 70 kobo. By 1990, it was 10 naira, 70 kobo. That's a depreciation of about 1,300%. It will be as if, and to put it again in context, that you went from 200 naira in 2014, where most of you were alive, which it was, to about 3,300 naira today. That period was a very difficult period for our country. The government had to introduce what was called a structural adjustment program. There needed to be a cut in public services, in education, a cut even to businesses. A lot of government corporations had to be privatized in order to be able to meet the challenges of the times. The 80s, and of course the 90s, were also a period of great economic opportunity. Most of the companies that you see around you here in Nigeria today that are thriving, becoming global and African champions, were founded in that period. It was a period that you had to look inwards. And that is the story of Gari. This product, for me, was emblematic of the 80s and the 90s. You see, if you grew up in the 70s and you enjoyed half chicken and fries when you were in university, as my elder brothers and sisters here today, you didn't need this. You went to Kingsway store, you wore imported clothing, not like this locally sewn fabric I'm wearing today. It was a period when Nigeria enjoyed imported goods based on inflated currency because, of course, of the oil boom. That era ended in 1980. Gari became emblematic. The rise of Gari and its utility, its dynamism, its ability to be used for different conditions. By the poor, by the rich, even an aspiring presidential candidate and former vice president of Nigeria, to be utilized for virtually everything, where African conflicts, the words of my dad, as he called Gari, replaced imported conflicts. Gari became dynamic, something that we wasted. Cassava being bountifully produced in Nigeria became something that we all went back to. We reformulated it. We even started exporting it. And for me, because, of course, I think I'm genetically predisposed to enjoy Gari, Gari became something I went everywhere I could. In fact, at the dinner table in the 80s and the 90s, my dad had a common saying, which he used to point out to an era where Gari used to be the last resort. It went this way: situation precarious, conditions overwhelming. Please send me a bowl of Gari. That was the letter he used to write to my grandfather when he was at Annunciation School in Ikere-Ekiti, whenever the allowances are dwindling down, and then he needed something to survive on, a bowl of Gari. And for Nigeria, the rise of Gari and the transformation of Gari as an export product, and of course, an opportunity instead of something being disused and dejected, also pointed out a way and a manner in which we could chart the future when we are going through precarious times. And for me, what does the future look like? 2010, 2009, 2010, at the back of the global financial crisis, myself and 3 other handsome young men, Damian Ogbola, who happens to be in the audience here today, Idris Bello, and Wole Odetayo, decided that we were going to do something different about our situation as Nigerian and Africans. That the labor that was now coming back home because they could not find jobs in foreign lands could be utilized and leveraged into a budding innovation and entrepreneurship ecosystem. As usual, it was my dad who called me one day in 2010, early 2010, about a year after we founded Lofting, and we're still banding out and testing out ideas on how we can actually leverage this opportunity. And he said there was an opportunity to apply to speak at the All Bankers Conference of Development Economics in Sweden. In the summer of 2010, I arrived in Sweden, in Stockholm, dressed, of course, in that handsome suit, but also accompanied with this delicious product that I always travel with. And we went for the first day, the second day, and very quickly I realized my fellow Nigerians who were at the conference were grumpy. The food was cold, to some familiar grounds, and we started conversations. And they asked me, they said, "Why are you still happy? You should be hungry." I said, "No, I have a bowl of Gari." And so I invited them to my room. And we started having a conversation about Gari. And the man you see on the far left, actually, my left, probably your right, was the director at the Entrepreneurship Development Center of the African Leadership Forum. And over a bowl of Gari, we started having a conversation. He said, "What ideas do you have?" Intimated him about our ideas of what we call the iCube, the Incubation Innovation Initiative, which later became the Winnovation Hub, our first project. He immediately invited me and said, "Look, we've secured a grant from the Central Bank of Nigeria to enable youth empowerment in Nigeria. We've built a beautiful center in Ikeja. We're willing to give you the ground floor space to become your first office for free." And using Gari, leveraging Gari, we began to build the ecosystem of entrepreneurship in Nigeria. Of course, the Lofting story did not just stop at being built or being leveraged or being developed over that Gari meal. Over the years, Lofting have gone on to support entrepreneurs, especially in agriculture, that are using this same product, Gari, cassava, and all the products that we have in Nigeria, most especially that which is most important, the most important and neglected resource in our country. Not that which is under our feet, but that which is above our necks, our human capacity. And we've leveraged it to build one of the largest venture capital firms in Africa. Just 2 weeks ago, we raised our 4th fund, the Lofting Capital Management Alpha Fund, at $75 million, and we had our first closing of $25 million. With 130 Afropreneurs already invested in, and with names that you are familiar with, from Mandela to Reliance to Flutterwave to Wave, and many, many other companies, Mono, Trailer, all of these, including Move, at least 4 of them today recognized as unicorns. Lofting writing either the first or the second checks to this company when they were developing. I saw how a meal of Gari somewhere in Stockholm have led to the revolution that we now sit upon today, called the tech ecosystem in Nigeria. But that story is just emblematic of another opportunity. Of course, Gari, a product that is accessible, a product that is affordable, a product that is adaptable, dynamic, recognizable, led to this current revolution. What other products are we neglecting in our current circumstances? Just like Gari, just like our tech ecosystem talents, those young people who in the 2000 and early 2010 and 15, unemployed, unaccounted for in the economy, but suddenly harnessed to become the power of a new generation of innovators and entrepreneurship. I strongly believe that we have another product, also starting with a G, widely available and widely neglected, which is gas. And that, I believe, will power Nigeria into the next decade, a decade of gas. And I'm privileged that, recognizing this opportunity, I was asked by Mr. President to help lead this revolution. And that's why I'm here today to speak to you about how we can get inspired by this Gari story to again key into another product that we are wasting, despite having so much of it, to power our economy into the future. You see, gas, it's in 30 of Nigeria's 36 states. In fact, the field that was commissioned in December 2022 by the immediate past president in Bauchi and Gombe had 600 BCF of gas in it. Everywhere in Nigeria is gas, from Port Harcourt to Ondo to Lagos to Sokoto to Maiduguri, even to Bauchi and Gombe and Nasarawa. We are the second largest flare of gas in the world. We have over 210 TCF of gas that is proven, probably another 650 TCF that is unproven. Gas has an uncommon possibility and opportunity for the development of our country. The future of Nigeria is gas. Nigeria is gas. Gas is the future of developing and industrializing this country. With gas, we cannot just power our vehicles and provide power for our industries, to even power the EVs and the hydrogen plants of the future. With gas, we have an opportunity to also create urea, to power our food production, to ensure that we can feed a growing population. Gas is the future, just the way I felt, and I know that Gari was the future. We went from wasting Gari to utilizing Gari in the 80s and 90s. Perhaps we use this opportunity to convert the gas that we're wasting so much. If you travel from Togo all the way to Douala, and you look down in Nigeria, you will not see electricity. You will not see dots of cities glowing with electricity. Rather, what you will see is flare sites. Nigeria is wasting over $12.5 billion worth of gas just in the last 5 years. That is incredible. A product that we can use to transform our economy. Gas is cheaper. Gas is accessible. Gas is safer. Gas is more reliable. It is cleaner for our air, ensuring that we can eliminate most of the diseases as well as airborne diseases occasioned by burning crude oil-derived products. Yet we are wasting it. The opportunity for us is simple. I put up this chart. In the last 20 years as a country, we've been importing petrol, importing poverty and exporting jobs. We could, by replacing the use of petrol and diesel in our vehicles, save our country up to $12 billion a year. We're not talking about additional job opportunities in terms of creating those CNG platforms, compressed natural gas to the rescue for your vehicle. I use it. The vehicle I use today, an Islander, used to cost me 60,000 naira when fuel was 750 naira a liter, or thereabout. Today, with the gas of 2,500 naira in an entire week, I'm able to use the same vehicle. The world of possibilities to go from destruction to savings, from waste to wealth. The reality is that gas is affordable. We are setting the price of gas in our country because it's domestically set. We no longer then have to pay for the price of a fight between Ukraine and Russia, or a fight between Palestine and Israel at the pump. My old mother in the village do not have to bear the burden of international geopolitics. We set the price of gas, we build the infrastructure, we also have an opportunity to export it to our neighbors, to create jobs and create export commodities. It is more reliable because we produce it and it's available across the country. It's easier to refine. If you see a gas refinery that can power up to 250,000 vehicles, it can fill this room. I'm sure a lot of you just down the road have been to Dangote Refinery. The humongous ecosystem of land, biosphere, that had to be given up in order to power how many vehicles? Ultimately, gas is the future, and that is what I'm saying. Sustainable. Gas is sustainable because not only are we going to be drilling for the gas and using the gas, eliminating the kind of carbon emissions that is associated with flaring, we are also going to use the cars to power our electricity, to move our commerce, which reduces the cost of production, allows Nigeria to be competitive internationally. The ability of us to combine savings with revenue can allow Nigeria to transform our current fiscal position from borrowing over $6 to $10 billion yearly to now earning between $10 to $15 billion by using the resource God has given this country. These attributes makes me believe firmly that the future is here. Let's use the lessons from one G to power the other G. From Gari to gas, the future of Nigeria is bright. God bless you, and God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you.